There's no questioning that the lives of men and women in America look very different. Both are often treated unfairly in many cases based on their gender. And while women's issues have been gaining visibility for some time, issues facing men specifically continue to go unnoticed. Men make up 80% of suicide victims and 41% of college graduates. Also, 1 in 4 men will be a victim of physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime, but there's only 1 domestic violence shelter in the US for men. But why? The most likely culprit is the social pressure put on men to perform well on their own. The hypermasculine idea that a real man should be able to do well in school, then go on to provide for his family on his own, with little to no help or support. These unrealistic standards lead to men today in a downward spiral of not doing well but refusing to seek help. When men are in need of emotional support or are faced with an immense challenge, they are often told to man up or deal with it, without receiving the help they need or usually any help at all. The fact that men make up about half of the country's population but account for 80% of all suicides is an absolute tragedy, born of men continuously being pressured to hide their emotions and personal feelings. Often men are conditioned to view people jacked up on steroids as normal, and to see men who disregard their feelings and emotions as heroes. These standards are extremely unhealthy and lead to a general unwillingness to discuss emotional issues among men. Men also are often pressured into head of household and sole wage-earning roles regardless of how they feel about assuming these roles. Fathers are pressured away from being a stay-at-home dad and caring for their children, even if they would rather assume these roles over a full-time career. Any man who chooses not to pursue a full-time career is seen as lazy and not as caring. Additionally, because of society's sexist attitudes towards parenting, men only gain custody of their children in a divorce about 17% of the time. This means that in a divorce, even though the husband is more likely to be financially independent, more than 4 out of 5 times the wife will win custody, according to the United States Census Bureau. Those who advocate for men's rights are generally regarded in society as misogynists, but the fact of the matter is that anybody can advocate for the rights of both men and women. Men's and women's issues in America today are not opposing to each other in the slightest. This doesn't need to be a competition. Feminists and meninists should be able to coexist peacefully, and the media's portrayal of men's rights activists as sexist cavemen is simply fake news. One of the most effective ways to combat men's issues today is at the local and personal level. I ask that if you have a positive relationship with your father, you make an effort this Father's Day not just to talk with him, but also to have a constructive, emotional conversation. Tell him what he means to you, and make sure he knows that his feelings matter.